we were saying like, hey, don't touch anything. If it's working, if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. But they're saying, okay, what happens if you did mess with it? So if you went back, if something's not working anymore, like, should you try and revert it? Is 2 weeks too much? What would you do?
Let's say you had a keyword and it was working and you wanted to move it to its own campaign. So you paused that keyword, launched it its own campaign, realized that you made a mistake, and it's 2 weeks later, whatever, a month later, and you want to revert it. The only thing that you can do is just revert it. And it's either going to work or not work, right? And don't cry over spilled milk. If you messed up and you hit your car, it's like, okay, I hit the car, I'm going to fix it and we're going to move forward. So the only thing that you can do is just try to turn it back on. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it's, don't cry over it.
Yeah, I would say what's done is done. I agree with Mina. You just got to work with what you got now. My second question would be, I know we said don't touch it, but like, how bad did the numbers get screwed up when you did touch it? Like, if you touched it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. ACOS is shooting through the roof. Sales are down, rankings down, everything's horrible, house on fire. Like, yeah, go turn that thing back on. If you messed with it and you're like, you know what? It didn't have as big of an impact as I thought. I kind of like my ad structure a little bit better. Well, then congratulations. You figured out something that worked, and I wouldn't worry about it as much. But if you think it did have an impact, turn it back on. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to figure out, well, that didn't work, and then you're just going to pause it again, and then you're back where you started. So it's worth a test.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this because I did a week ago or 2 weeks ago with the Ad Labs guys, Steve and Noach. And so we did like this battle of like, should you graduate a keyword that's working or not? And half of them seem to say, listen, like I've discovered a keyword in auto or browse, paused it and launched it in its own campaign, and it's worked the exact same thing. And so I'm not saying like you're 100% doomed. It's just Amazon is unpredictable, which is Elizabeth's point, is like it could work. And if it does work, amazing. And if it doesn't, you know what to do.
Yeah, no, I think you and I both have the same perspective because we've tried moving things. And I like to say a lot of our learnings came through like battle scars, and we're like, oh, I'm never doing that again, right? And so it's like, well, when someone's like, oh, I'm going to do this, you're like, this is all of the terrible things that I had. And like, I do grant, sometimes it doesn't work. I guess my observation, again, you also have the perspective of, we've also seen a ton of different accounts and a ton of different scenarios. So like, it could have worked in this account, but like in a broader perspective, if we're talking general practices, I've seen for the most part, it tends to not work, but there are exceptions. So I'm like, well, if something works in general, and there's a couple of sections to the rule, I'm going to go with the general rule, the one that I know is most applicable, and then maybe we'll test it.
Exactly.